Right. I think that's correct. Am I going to be able to record? I'm recording apparently, so that's cool. Guess I should tweet that I'm live. Of course, that was an hour ago. Right. Yeah, very yellow. I mean, it's because just yellow. That's my color, yellow. And of course, the lights in my room are also yellow, except for the lamp there. You can't really see. That I had to swap the bulb out because I wanted more light on my face, because this is a room in a basement and it's dark. Also, if actually I should bring the gain up on my mic a little bit more. Testing. Hey, it's kind of louder. Oh wait, the compressor. Hold on, gotta adjust the compressor here. If this is me talking, bring the compressor down to here. Yeah, okay. That's slightly better. Bring that up to like -12. Sure. Maybe sounds good, maybe sounds like shit. I don't know. Sounded alright. Anyways, I should probably bring up my tweet thread, which was the main thing that I wanted to go over, which would be this link right here. As you can tell, I'm very prepared, and the new OBS is also throwing me way off currently, so that's beautiful. The new monitor is also throwing me off, because that's beautiful. I don't know, like 480, 1920, sure. Okay. Hey, it worked. Fuck yeah. Alright. It's not in it's not in dark mode though, but we'll have to make do. Where's my interact button? Everything's so tiny because I'm on a 4K monitor now, and I don't understand why everything is so freaking tiny. Like, is there an option to make the font bigger? And the UI, no, I guess. Oh, okay. No. Why would you be able to make the font bigger? Right. Okay. Oh, that would be why. If I lock that, and then I can interact with. Oh boy. Why is this? Oh, because that's why. I don't know. Let's do that. Hey, I can actually scroll through, maybe? Can I scroll through? Is there a scroll? There's not. But I might be able to... Yeah, okay, I can do that. That's fine. So, bring up my dashboard here just so for whatever purposes. Also, with a 43-inch screen right in front of my face, whatever I pull up on my TV is going to also adjust the lighting on my face. So, you know, that's always interesting. But in either case, main reason of me going live was to go over this thing and explain any mistakes I did or any questions that people have while looking at my face, because I figured, why not? And yes, the Twitter stuff's right there. I'm going to cover my own face so I don't have to look at myself. All right, so online streaming, blah, 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 blah. List of tips, right? List of tips. First tip is to figure out what resolution you'll stream at. Currently, the stream world is very much suited to 720p. When you take layouts into account, you can stream 480p. 480p with no blocking is better than 720p or even 1080p with massive blocking. Right. So, what do I mean by this? If for whatever reason you don't understand it. 720p makes so much sense. And the second tweet goes over this, so pretty much whatever. And the third tweet. And the fourth, and the fifth. In either case, the first portion covers everything that I'm about to talk about. So, most of the time, people are using their CPUs to encode. And there is a kind of plateau in CPU encoding. Or, no. Let's start this off again. Without me being an idiot. So, when you encode video, there's obviously your bit rate, which is your kilobits per second, okay? And your kilobits per second is pretty much, if you were trying to build an image out of Lego, your kilobits per second is the amount of Lego that you would have in a bucket. The more Legos you have at your disposal, the more detailed of a photo that you could create. Because you obviously have you have more colors, variations, you can stack different ones on top of each other to create different dithering or whatever, in the sense of building with Lego. The more Lego you have, the more that you could create an image with. And that's pretty much your bit rate. So when you have an image and you're limited on the amount of resources you have to build this image, you're going to end up with macro blocking. You might even see this on my stream right now because I'm streaming 1080p 30 or 60? 30 or 60? I don't even know. What did I set it to? It's 1080p 60 at 3500 because I'm a genius, okay? I actually don't even know how this looks like. Oh, wait, no, it's 720p. I'm recording in 1080 because my CPU can handle it. And looking at my own stream right now with delay, there's noise, and in that noise, you can actually see a lot of blocking in the background on my wall. You'll just see kind of blocks on my couch. You can see that there is a bunch of blocking happening as well because of the texture. Overall, very dark room, not a lot of lights. Detail is getting compressed because of the noise that my camera is doing and trying to boost everything to make it visible. And like that we're getting blocking. It's unavoidable. If I can actually showcase this live, which is pretty amazing. I did not realize. So if I were to just cut my bitrate down, let's say like 1,000. This is about to look really bad. As soon as I find where the full screen button is. Yeah, it's starting to get super blocky. Let's bring this down to like even 500 to prove a point. And it's switched over to, yeah, it's thereabouts. So yeah, this is awful. If you look at now my face moving to left and right, it's creating a lot of artifacting and motion, and it's just not good. Like this is what happens when you don't have enough Lego. You end up with a very ugly kind of looking video. So let's bring that back up now that I've proved my point on what a lack of bitrate does. Let's see here. Where would I be? 3,500. That should bring it back up to a more acceptable level. Yeah, instant improvement right there. So that's what happens when we don't have enough Lego, okay? Now, even at 1,000, I was surprised how good that looked. But then again, very static screen. The only thing that's really moving is my face. So there's not a lot of motion that's going on in the stream. So as you can see, depending on your content, you can get away with a lower bit rate. Now, when I went down to 500, if I was streaming at like 480p, that would look a lot more acceptable. If I was at 1080, even 3,500, it would look very awful. I can't change resolutions on the fly. And I also realized that the recording that I have is recording losslessly. So what I just did isn't going to actually do anything. So I'm going to have to splice in the Twitch VOD. Anyways, back to the point. As you can see, bitrate changes a lot of what's going on. So if you are restrained on your bandwidth or anything like that, you obviously want to have a resolution that better complements the amount of bitrate that you can spit out. Okay, so I go over an equation. I honestly can't find the validity of this equation, like who first invented it, where some academic paper goes over this or anything like that. But it's makes its rounds on the internet, and the math makes sense. So I don't have any reason to not trust this equation. Looks like in my tweet, I went over the math for a 720p stream, which means that you end up at around 5,500 bitrate. This is actually I should add a limiter to my mic. Hold on. I just realized that there are some tiny points where I might be clipping. Limiter. -6. Perfect. Awesome. So if we look at professional stream services like MLB TV, and I believe MLB TV also runs NHL in the States as well. But if we look at services like that, their 720p 60 streams are 5,000 kilobits a second. And for this equation, we ended up with 5,500. Now, a company like MLB is going to be using the best hardware. They can change their encoding presets to something like maybe medium or slow. I could switch over to slow if I really wanted to. I think I'm on medium right now. But in either case, the better the CPU preset, the less bitrate you'll actually need. So I believe this equation it just assumes that you're on like very fast or something. But the whole point of it is there is a point where you can throw bitrate at an image, and at a certain point, throwing any more it doesn't improve the signal or the video. It just uses up more resources at that point. Like everything, there's a point of diminishing returns, and that's what the equation is supposed to try to showcase. So yeah, like I said in the tweet, if you bump it down to 30, you only need 27. So if you're playing a game that's not even 60 frames a second, like an older retro game or something like that, and you've upscaled your input because you're capturing it like that with an OSSC or scaler or any sorts of the other, you're streaming in 720, but your game isn't actually 60. You would be better off streaming in 30 in that case, because your bit rate's going to go a lot farther in comparison to 60 frames a second. So that's something I brought up to keep in mind. With speedrunning, a lot of people play retro games, and if your game's not even at 60 frames a second, maybe you're better off not streaming 60 frames a second to kind of squeeze more quality out of what you can do, because not everyone has super amazing internet. And even restreamers, depending on the setups, even though it looks like people are going to dedicated remote cloud restream setups, so should be fine. But in either case, if you're limited on resources, maybe think about how you can improve without doing too much out of the box. And another thing that I brought up was the resolution itself on the stream that you'll be on. So if the marathon's a 720p stream, which a lot of marathons are, because not all of them are partnered, which means they don't get transcoding. They'll stream at 720 at a bit rate of probably around 3,500, 4,000, so a lot of people can watch it without issue. If it's a bigger marathon that has guaranteed transcoding, they'll probably stream at 1080, depending on the resources that they have. But even when you think about it, once you take into account the side layout and the bottom tickers and the top and everything else, your game feed only takes up such a portion of the layout itself that you streaming 720p it's not going to be 720p on the stream itself. Even if they're streaming at 1080, you might, if it's a widescreen game, you might fill up that 720p there. So it's something to keep in mind if you're trying to, again, it's all about understanding the limits and the resources of everything around you in this scenario. If you're restreaming to a marathon and it's 720p only, maybe streaming 480p instead, and it'll save a lot of time and effort on everyone's sides. You're not streaming to like your own audience. Even if you are streaming only to your own audience, maybe a good 480p stream that doesn't block up like my example a couple minutes ago with the lower bit rate is better than it blocking, because nobody likes to watch super blocky mess. We've gone past the point of really crappy YouTube video rips of anime and everything else. So that's pretty much just what I wanted to go over with that whole first portion. Just going over bitrate and resolution, just keeping it in mind. Because there's been a lot of scenarios where, in dealing with online marathons for NASA, where people are streaming and it's like garbage looking. So I have to go through a whole rigmarole of, okay, maybe bump down your resolution and it won't look as garbage. And then it doesn't look as garbage. And then we have a better time on stream. So it's just something to keep in mind during that whole thing. What is this? Recommend 720 at whatever bitrate you can manage. Yeah, whatever. Record local recordings at a higher quality. CRF 18, do it up. Or if you can't afford to use your CPU for a second encoding, maybe use your graphics card. NVIDIA graphics cards have super awesome recording quality. So look into NVENC if you have the current or previous generation of NVIDIA graphics cards. Audio side, do not mix with headphones, use speakers. Yes. So I'm going to prove a point here. I'm going to bring up Google. Where is Google? I'm going to bring up YouTube. And I'm actually going to do a window capture of Firefox. This may or may not work out properly. Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. You're right. How do I make this fit the screen? Oh boy. It doesn't even capture, actually. That's beautiful. So we can just remove that. Would a game capture work for Firefox? No. No, it wouldn't. So we're just going to have to do a display capture because... Yep, okay. Let's look up Vox audio mixing. And I don't have desktop audio here. And my speakers are actually muted. But let's unmute them for a second. I'm going to bring this down. Okay. Ooh. There we go. I was still listening to myself there. I don't actually need to listen to myself, but yeah, let's go. Hold on. Is there not a picture of them in the truck? Do I gotta go to a different video? Oh, there was something here. Oh, okay, yes. Oh, no, go back. Look at this, okay? This is a broadcast truck for what looks to be football, okay? Do you see a single pair of headphones here? Oh, hold on. I just realized everything's probably cropped off. There we go. Okay, let's try this one more time. Do you see any headphones here? I see a super huge, what I believe to be is a Calrec mixer. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 bookshelf speakers. Okay. I see a lectern microphone here, or a podium microphone for what looks to be talkback purposes. I see a lot of fancy screens. You know what I don't see? I don't see a pair of headphones. And I don't mix on headphones either. Because, and this is my biggest pet peeve. We can get rid of this. This is my biggest pet peeve. When you mix with headphones, the dynamics are very different. Listen to your favorite song, your absolute favorite song, through a nice bookshelf speaker in your car, wherever, somewhere that has a decent sound system. You know the ins and outs of it. Then listen to the same song with headphones or earbuds or anything. And all of a sudden there's like little layers that now you can hear a lot better because now the speaker is like right beside your ear and the differences in sound are now not so very different because sound, it quiets down the farther you're away from the source and everything, right? So what often happens is when I'm watching a speedrun event, and I'll watch it on my TV in the living room or in my room here right now because I'm also using bookshelf speakers here. Check out my Twitter to see what my desk currently looks at. There's a bookshelf there and a bookshelf there, and then a big-ass TV. I can see myself talk right now. It's kind of weird staring at yourself talking. But you can't hear the music anymore because the difference in headphones, it sounds like a good, reasonable mix. The music is more in the background. The person speaking is very loud and clear. But then when you're in your living room or anything that's not headphones, it's so quiet. You can't hear the music at all. And it's super annoying. Actually, I do have this unmuted. Let's pull up a NASA marathon VOD here, just for shits and giggles. I don't know, day 4 of NASA 2019. What is a reasonable, something that has good music? Sure, Jet Set Radio. Why not? I have this muted.
Oh yeah, all right. Welcome everybody. Jet Set Radio Future 2-player 1 controller.
You can kind of hear this.
In 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so 2-player 1 controller. I will be controlling the left side, which is movement and kind of resetting the camera, but that doesn't happen a lot. It's just more like I kind of take control of what we're going to be doing, and then Zeno's going to be executing the things that I'm going to be calling out to him.
Yeah.
So he's doing jump, boost, tricking, spraying, everything. Yeah, this is it. This is just the garage. It's just a little tutorial. They teach you how to jump, they teach you how to grind, they teach you how to spray. It's very basic.
That was through the bookshelf, just the mic picking it up because it's an Omni. Now kind of like listen to this with headphones. It's going to be really weird.
So for a lot of things like jumping and boosting, I'm kind of going to prompt Zeno with what I want him to do before he executes it. So like when I want him to jump in certain places, I'm going to say jump now, and he'll jump when I say now. So we can kind of distinguish between when I want him to boost or jump.
Ooh.
All right.
Frame perfect, so, baby.
They teach you how to boost, which is using 10 cans by hitting B. And, oh, he's just going to button mash here.
There we go.
So you normally boost, and it kind of triggers when you finish the boost, so if you just cancel it, it instantly ends.
Now, I don't know if that example worked or not. Might have to edit it in post, as all things with post. The difference between speaking and the music was probably a lot more the music was probably a lot louder when you were listening to the headphones compared to when you were just listening it through the bookshelf speakers. And that was something that we actually... Oh, my belt pack fell out of my pocket. That's why you're supposed to use the little belt thing, but I didn't. Let's actually use it. Okay, that's why when you're mixing, you try to use a lot of, well, of course I did it on the wire. You try to use a lot of different speakers to see how things sound. In recording studios, they have, obviously, they're super nice speakers. For example, at my boss's studio, he has three sets of speakers. He has the super huge ones that he calls air movers, pretty much to wow anybody who's in the studio, like, yo, this sounds awesome. Then you have like the middle ones, which are like bigger, but whatever. And then you have like your super smaller bookshelf ones that a lot of people will be listening on. But what he also does is he also just listens to like a Bluetooth speaker or just what different speakers. So that way, when you listen to it off all the different speakers, you can kind of level it out. And that's why when you listen to a lot of professional recordings, you listen to them in headphones, you listen to them in the car, you listen to them on like computer speakers, laptop speakers. It all sounds pretty reasonable. Like, yeah, things are going to sound better on one or the other, but everything's about the same. But if you're mixing and mastering on just headphones, it's not going to work out very well. So, at NASA itself, we had the 2 PA speakers to the left and right, which fed audio throughout the whole room. That was kind of how we did our first sound check. On top of the fact that we did mix with headphones, but that was more so we could isolate the sound, so we can hear, okay, this person is indeed talking, that person is indeed talking, okay, we are indeed getting the game in both ears, there's no shenanigans going on. And then we kind of did that, and then we took them off, and then we'd listen in the room. Okay, how does that sound? And then we put them back on. We kind of level it out, because it's like, oh, it sounds good on the speakers, it doesn't sound good in the headphones, so we kind of level it out between the two. And then we'd go live once we got that level between the two. Then we'd take our laptops and we would listen to them from the laptop speakers. And if it sounded not so good, we would tweak the levels a little bit more. And then once it was like a good in between on like all 3 of those sources, I'm going to try not to use the word like, because I really hate it, we were good with the mix. And when you listen to the NASA VODs from 2019, you can put that on your living room TV and you can hear the music and you can hear people talking just fine. And personally, that's what I want out of my VODs. So when we do our online events too, the stream 2s, because if I'm the main restreamer, I'll be a stream 1. So my helper would be a stream 2. It's just terminology that I made up, because in Pro AV you have like your L1, which is your main lighting guy, and your L2, which is like their assistant, your A1, which is audio lead, and then A2, which is audio assistant. You got your V1, and you're like, that's the way the system works. So for streaming, I made it up. You have a stream 1 and you have a stream 2. The stream 2 will pull up the runner's feed, and the first thing they do is they check audio balance. And I make sure that they're not using headphones to check audio balance. If they are and it can't be helped, whatever. But I will double test. Like I'll quickly do a glance over on their levels before they go live, just to make sure, as like a redundancy check. So they check their levels, and first thing is to make sure that the person speaking is actually a reasonable level. So if we look at my my OBS feed, which we're gonna crop this for a second, and whoop. Oh right, right. Forgot. I can't. I really hate this. Holy crap. So because I had it full screened, whenever I cropped it, it would just recenter it, which is really stupid. This should prove my point here. Where's the... I can't see viewing angles. How do they work? Okay. We'll kind of just pop that up to be right beside me. Yay. So there we go. Actually, there's also a camera like in front of my TV, which makes this really fun. Hey, okay. As you can tell, I'm very prepared. So, as you can see, OBS has 3 kind of levels here. There's this color. I'm gonna go with maybe it's yellow. Then you have whatever's here, which might be green, and then you have there, which is red. You don't want to go into the red. The red is when you like yell, ha, and I have a limiter, so it's not gonna go on the red. It's gonna clamp right down. We'll get to that in a second. But the speaking voice should probably live around here. And then your background music, game music, whatever, should probably live around like, I just realized you don't see the mouse. Should live around, so the voice, as you can see, -20 to -10-ish, little higher. probably -5 is that range. You want to be in this middle color, but not above it when you're talking. That you want that red portion to be your headroom. So that way, if all of a sudden there's like loud clapping or anything dynamic, you have that little bit of space for that dynamic range. So if something's supposed to be loud, it will be loud. You don't want to hit in the red, because then you're getting very close to clipping and everything like that. But living in this middle portion, the second color, that's a good place for the speaking voice to be of whoever's talking. Sure, whatever. And then, as you can see, anything below -20 is where that first color is, the yellow something or other. I don't know, colorblind. That's where you want your game audio to be. And decibels are a logarithmic scale. So just because something's like you have like -5 and -10. -10 is doubled that, but it's not actually double the difference because it's logarithmic. So I can't math right now because it's not my forte. But in either case, it is not double. So the difference is exponential. So I think it's like every 3 dB is actually 3 or 5 is a doubling of the sound. So you're over double, even though it's, so if your speaking voice is sitting in around anywhere around from -5 to like -10, and your game's sitting from like -20 to -25, that is probably a good level. But it depends, because video game music is dynamic. There's quieter points, there's louder points. So it all depends. And that's why you need to actually listen to your mix. But also, I'm going to move this Twitter thing to this side, because I just realized that my face isn't going to really get cut off when it's on that side. So yeah, that's what I was trying to get through, where you aren't mixing with headphones. But that's obviously not something every runner can do for themselves. That's why it's a lot easier for someone else to kind of mix for them. If ever you go to like a concert or there's a live band playing or something, generally at a festival or something, generally the band's not mixing themselves. There's a dedicated person who is mixing for them. Obviously, if you're streaming, you kind of have to do that all on your own. And it can be somewhat difficult to listen to yourself and also have background music at the same time. So what we're actually going to do is, and that just has to do with kind of working to your limitations. Like, I can start pumping my own mic through my bookshelf speakers, and this is an Omni capsule, so obviously it picks up sound like, hold on, there we go, in like a circle around me, because that's how Omni capsules work. So it will pick up the sound from the bookshelf speakers. But I mean, that's fine as long as the output from the speakers is not loud enough that it gets picked up by the mic again, because that's what causes feedback. It's when the mic, like the sound of the mic is being pumped into it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it causes that sound. And that's what causes feedback. So as long as you keep the level of your speakers, you might have to put it quieter and then compared to what you normally listen to. But that's fine. But again, this is for online marathons, and realistically, there should be someone from that online marathon helping you with the mixing. And having, but the big kind of thing there, now I remember why I had on that side, because I can actually read read it. That's fine. There we go. So if you can't mix it yourself, there's always someone. There should be someone who can help you mix your levels, and they should not be using headphones, because that way you will. Not everyone's watching speedrun events through like earbuds and headphones to themselves, and that shouldn't be the goal with online marathons. You should be able to pop that on a TV in a living room, and everyone can watch and hear the game just fine, and people talking just fine. That should be the goal. But it should also sound good on headphones. So realistically, what I should have said is mix on multiple sources. Do not mix only with headphones. That would have been a good tweet. Maybe I would have had enough characters. I don't know. I was limited to 140 characters. So this is why I'm doing this video, to kind of fix stuff. Also, I realized that somebody pointed out to me that I have a typo, or I figured out that I have a typo in the previous tweets where the equation said BPS. It should have been BPP for bits per pixel. Jumping back to that, it's at 0.1 because that's about as much as you want to throw bits per pixel. But you can have a lower number if your image is less colorful or more static or anything like that. Like Hearthstone could probably live at like 0.05 or something, because it's very staticky except for the couple animations that it has. Noise reduction filters. So I'm actually not using OBS's noise reduction filters. I'm using the Isotopes RX noise reduction denoise. But I can actually show, I can actually show the difference between the two of them. So let me just add a noise reduction. Let's turn off the noise reduction for a second. You can probably hear my fans going on. Let's move this to the start of the chain. So this is the noise reduction here. This is just default. I haven't touched anything. And then this is the RX denoise. This is built in OBS. RX denoise. And actually, I should have my headphones on for this so I can actually confirm that this is actually doing what I want it to do. So yeah. Oh. Hearing myself very loudly. So yeah, I can hear the fans going. And that's the OBS noise suppression. I think it's doing kind of weird things to my voice though, but I also EQ'd, so let's turn that off. Okay. Yeah. Let's oh. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of weird sounding. Turn the gain down a bit. Like, my voice sounds kind of weird personally with this noise suppression on. It might be on too strong. I need less gain. Okay. It might be on too strong. Okay. Yeah, minus 12 it looks like. It's pretty good. It's not muffling my voice all that much and everything. Minus 10 maybe. Obviously this varies. This is the RX7 voice denoise. Okay, and yeah, same thing. The fans are gone, at least on this headphone level. It's doing a reduction of like 13.2. Sure, there we go. So, in both cases, the fan noise is greatly reduced. You don't need a paid plugin. I got it super cheap, so I'm using it. And I think it does, I wonder if I can, like, window capture? I want to show it. Window capture is just broken, guys. Oh, maybe I can do this, though. If I... Oh, yeah, okay, so... If I do this... Kind of... Whoop. Whoop. Oh, no. There we go. Okay. See how the RX, it made a curve. And it has all these settings here. So it's a lot more flexible than the OBS one. But the OBS... Yeah, I can't listen to myself anymore. There we go. Oh my god. It's really hard to talk while also listening to yourself with a slight delay. It's like this Beach Jammer thing. Like the delay is just slight enough because I'm digitally pumping the audio back through to the mixer with the OBS audio monitoring. So by the time everything, in either case, as you can see, this has a little bit more flexibility. It has 6 kind of like EQ points there, and it kind of graphed itself out. And you can have it in adaptive mode where it changes it on the fly, or you can have it just learn, which is what I do. I just don't talk. I keep the mic at the volume that it's going to be at, and just let it learn it, and then you're good to go. So let's turn everything else back on. Okay, and the gain has to go way up because I just realized it was not up. Let's make this, yeah, sure. I don't know, like 13? Sure. Okay, yeah, my voice is 14? Okay. Yeah, my voice is reaching that point. Okay. So, as we can see, the noise suppression, pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Also, I just realized that the bookshelves were also pointing it out. Where was I? Ah, yes. Noise suppression. Use it. Everyone always has their PC fan going on or something along those lines. It cleans up the audio. It obviously can't do a perfect job. The best to do would be just to get rid of any ambient noise that you can, but obviously not always possible. But the noise reduction filters help a lot. What you also want to do is add a limiter, like I mentioned on the ninth tweet there. So what does a limiter do? Well, a limiter pretty much, it's if audio is the dB, right? A limiter is kind of like a very, very brick wall compressor. Pretty much exactly what it is. So if a compressor takes compressor, you set a threshold. So let's say your audio is like here. You want your compressor to be like here. Every single time the audio reaches this, like above it, it's gonna slap it back down. It's just gonna go like boom. So limiter, right? If you set it to like, I want to limit my audio to like here. So if anything gets above that, it'll just be like boom, go down. And that saves you from rip headphones. So right now there is a limiter on my microphone here and some compression, everything. I'm not going to go over compression because that is a whole topic in of itself that I am not qualified to. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to because I barely understand the concept. I know enough that I can set up myself and kind of play around with it and maybe get a result. But to explain it, it's whatever. And there's different schools of thoughts and everything. But a limiter I can do. So if I take off this limiter, this might hurt. It reached, it probably peaked. That the audio probably clipped right there. But if I put the limiter on, it didn't get as loud. And that's literally, everybody should have a limiter on their audio sources for their microphone and for their game. Because if you think about it, oftentimes you have your game and everyone's like, oh, like this part's gonna get really loud, so maybe put your headphones quieter or something like that. And then the streamer, like the restreamer, anybody's like scrambling to get the audio level down, if they're even there. Because honestly, if you're restreaming, you're not gonna be able to buy the computer 24/7. Let's be real. You have to move around. If you put a limiter on that, it will stop the rip headphones. And if you're screaming, it will bring the level down. So even if the sound starts to get distorted or anything else, it won't be super loud, in the sense that if you're a masochist, you could keep the headphones on without damaging your hearing. So you can set the limiter to be a different thing. Obviously in OBS, you can set filters per different sources. So if you can see where your game audio kind of lives, let's say it lives at around -20 to -25, you might want to set that limiter for -20. So then, and if anything gets louder than -20, it will be smacked back down to -20 dB in terms of loudness. So if there's any points where it's like a grenade or a loud gunshot or just terrible audio mixing, in the case of Afro Samurai 2, it won't get any louder than that. And then the same with your voice, but that one you can probably leave it like -6 or something, and that will just keep it from peaking. So that's what that's the main thing there. And if you forget to put that on yourself as a runner, the restreamer should also add a limiter to kind of like their master feed. It's not going to change the dynamics of a game being too loud or anything like that, but it will still keep a runner going like, oh my god, or the game, it'll still kind of keep the audio level in check in a way that it will be easier on the ears. Still might be terrible, but it will be slightly better. So that's what we got there. Let's see. What is the next tweet? Very prepared. Very prepared. Train your restreamers. Even if a person can't actually restream, get them to balance the runner audio levels, make sure the game is cropped correctly, etc. Online marathon should be a 2-person job every shift to avoid long delays between runs. That's pretty much this is jumping. It's also my last tweet, pretty much, for whatever. So how much time have I used up? 54 minutes. Oh boy, almost an hour going over this tweet thread. Neat. So restreaming should absolutely be a 2-person job. If we go back to that concept I was talking about, where you have an S1 and an S2. The S1 is obviously the one setting up OBS, making sure the feed is there, it's on the layout properly, the game is, all the text files are changed up, everything like that. But obviously, if it runs like 2 hours, the next runner should be available an hour and a half through that run. But if the main restreamer is already listening to the regular feed and everything like that to make sure that it's all fine, they don't necessarily have the means to just switch over and start listening to another person's feed or anything, depending on the setup. If you're doing like a cloud restream setup, obviously you can just minimize that and use your regular OS to listen through and everything, but that's not always possible. And realistically, you might not be there to do that. But if there's a race or something, that might also require more coordination and everything like that. It splitting up your own resources is not the best idea, because there's a lot to do. Even though it's a lull, you still want to keep an eye on in case anything breaks. You want to be there. If you're setting up the next runner and all of a sudden something dies and you didn't realize because you don't even have that stream up to look at because you're testing another runner, well, that's not very good. So having a stream 2 is uber beneficial because they can get the person set up. If there's a stream key or a Twitch channel or anything that somebody has to stream to, they can set that up. Yeah, this lighting's bothering me, and I spent already like 2 hours working on it, and now I have like a fucking shadow here and here, and yeah, this is, I don't know. I'm not set up for this shit. In either case, they can get the runner set up, get them their stream key, Twitch channel, whatever the marathon is doing for the runners. They can get that runner set up to stream to the correct place. They can make sure their stream isn't choppy or blocky or anything like that. Sometimes there's a server issue, you never know. So that they can make sure of that. They can balance the audio, which we've went over. And that way, when it comes to, okay, it runs over, intermission, the stream 1 can pull up the stream, confirm everything is all good, and then get them on the stream, and then just 3, 2, 1, count them in, let's go. If there's races, make sure that everyone is all good. If for whatever reason a runner in the race doesn't have game audio, saying, hey, we're going to be using runner 2's audio because runner 1 doesn't have good audio, that's something to know. And that's something that maybe could have been fixed, but it's unfixable, but at least somebody tried. Having a stream 2 is super invaluable. And if you aren't already using a partner or buddy system for restreaming, you really should, because it just makes life a lot easier. And it avoids delays, like my tweet says. So yeah, that is that. I don't know if anybody has any questions for the few people who are watching this live. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask them currently. As I just check my social medias. Oh yeah, Discord wasn't open because my computer crashed. My computer is doing this thing where Windows refuses to update, and because Windows refuses to updates, a lot of issues arise. But it can't update because, like, my computer doesn't even boot properly half the time. it will blue screen, and then you run an automatic repair, and the automatic repair fails, but then you turn the computer on, and then it works again. And it does that until you turn it off, at which point it blue screens again after like a couple hours. Like if you do it immediately, it's fine. So like, I don't know. My computer's weird, and it needs a reinstall of its OS, frankly. So... okay. So there are no questions, it looks like, which I guess is a good and a bad thing. But if there are any questions, obviously hit me up on the Twitter, because been very active on that recently. I also don't know how this mic actually sounds. I spent way too much time trying to set up this really shitty stream of me just reading over tweets and trying to explain my thought process. So something that takes 10 minutes to read is explained over the course of over an hour. So probably do more of these because I have a lot of free time on my hands. Maybe I'll try to like gather questions beforehand or something. But yeah. We're at an hour in now. It is 12:39 a.m. Not that I'm going to be working, but going to sleep at reasonable hours are also nice. So I'm going to cut the stream here. I'll upload it to YouTube, and we'll probably do this again. Probably at some point this week. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.